My family's in here. You can save them.
The Collector.
Collector.
That's right.
We don't need no R here at the end.
No, not for him. I think he killed the R at the end of that word because he's killing everything else, man. I mean, I thought that this was going to be a thriller. You know, a guy breaks in the house and somebody else breaks into the same house. And I thought it was going to be like this little cat and mouse thing. Nah, this is a horror movie, man. This is a straight up scary ass horror movie.
No, I disagree with you because I think the first half of the movie is a thriller, but then it becomes a horror film.
That shit becomes horrible.
And it becomes hardcore horror.
Yeah, no, it's, man, I mean, really, when they talk about a haunted house movie, I mean, compared to The Collector, Ghost ain't shit. Because the Ghost ain't going to set up all these kind of gruesome traps and shit. This dude, I don't know what his deal is, but that Jigsaw, that little puppet, ain't got nothing on this guy right here,
Oh,
man.
really? So this sounds like a sophisticated man's horror film.
It's a sophisticated Saw film. It's what Saw should be at this point.
Oh, okay. And you said the guy who wrote this is the same guy who's been writing?
Well,
the
this
Saw
is
films?
written by Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton.
And Marcus was the one that directed it.
Yeah, they've written it together, and they worked on Saws 4, 5, and 6. Now they wrote scripts, and those scripts were rewritten and altered before they were filmed.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people. Like I saw somebody commented on your piece about your interview, going, "Wait, if these guys wrote these movies, why should we care?" It's like, well, they wrote drafts of these movies, and they have the credit, but the final versions aren't actually close to what they wrote.
Yeah, like most scripts in Hollywood or anywhere else, you know, the chances are they will get changed and rewritten.
They also wrote all 3 of the Feast films.
In this, in this particular movie was actually, now you probably heard them in the interview say that this was going to be a prequel to Saw. It was a guy who broke into the home of this family and killed the family by setting up all these traps, except for one person, which was the child. And Tobin Bell's character of Jigsaw was going to be the child in that movie that Saw's family murdered, which of course would have a very twisted effect on his life years later.
And that got changed rather
I was about to say, like, aren't the last 3 Saw films prequels? I mean, did they really need to go back
the
again?
thing is, people keep mentioning we keep mentioning Saw, and it's the unfortunate thing that has to be mentioned.
Right.
But the thing that really needs to be said is this is better than any of the Saw films.
That's good to hear.
This is far and away better than any of the Saw films.
You guys seem really enthusiastic about this film, so tell me why it's great.
This movie, it sets up atmosphere. I mean, that's the thing about that really works for this. And I like that we're following a character who, despite being a petty criminal, still seems kind of like an average person who just happens to be down on his luck. In this case, he's a burglar passing himself off as a handyman so he can scope out the home of this rich man's family. Now, it turns out he needs money to help out his own family because his wife is in deep with loan sharks. The job appears simple at first. You get in there, steal this big rock from the rich man's vault, get out, and sell the stone by midnight so that he can save his wife. And so he says, you know what, I got to do this job tonight. And so he decides to go in, break in, make it a clean job, get right out.
Got to get my rock.
Got to get my rock. Yeah, he's like a crack guy going, get my rock. Yeah, but he goes in that shit and he quickly learns, he's like, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? I mean, there's all these contraptions set up all these places. And
Mousetrap the game? What the hell is going on here?
The thing, he's walked in on the same night that a serial killer has decided he's killing the family. And the serial killer doesn't know that he's there. And so what really works about this film and what I love about the film is that unlike most horror films sets up a group of people, like the Saw films throws a group of people together who wander around, or you've got a bunch of teens that go out together to the woods, and then it's watching them get separated and killed one by one. Here, the entire film is about one guy, and it's about following this guy and watching him try to survive this house, but at the same time, trying to help keep the family alive.
So the hunter has become the hunted, and at the same time,
hunted. Yes. and
he has to become a good guy, I guess.
Well, that's the thing, man. This guy, you really, you don't really feel that bad towards him. And that's my problem with the movie. It's like this guy walks in and we're thinking like, okay, man, this is wrong, but at least you just want to come in and rip this guy off. This guy probably has insurance that you're ripping off. I mean, you're desperate. I feel sorry for you. That's okay. He walks in and you see all these traps. And he's like, what the fuck? I can't get out this goddamn house. And he immediately starts getting hurt. And when you see him become a good guy, like there's a chance for him to get out. But he decides to like be a hero and try to help his family. And that's when we begin to like this guy.
Right.
And And my problem with that is that this guy, throughout the whole movie, man, I mean, it's just getting his ass kicked. I mean, he's going through some of the most horrible torture, and it doesn't let up. And I mean, I don't want to ruin anything by the end of the movie, but to me, it was really unsatisfactory for the guy who is a serial killer and the guy who's trying to help his family. I mean, I don't know if you agree.
I completely disagree. I thought it was very satisfying. I think the movie ends exactly the way it should end, and I think it builds to a great conclusion. It's a lot of fun, and it's just a good old fashioned, kind of slasher movie, but without the cheese or the camp. It takes itself very seriously. It's shot very well. It's made with care and love. It's not crapped out. Everything is meticulously done. And I like what they do with it. The thing is that the film is just mean. It's just got a mean streak to it, and it puts its characters through some really hard situations.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, the thing that you're talking about, one of the reasons why this guy is so kind of tied to this house is he feels he's in a situation where he's not there as the dad he wants to be to his daughter, and here's this girl in the house that's the same age as his daughter, and he kind of feels like this is his chance to kind of be that kind of good dad and do what he should be doing as a dad, which of course puts his fucking ass in danger. And it's just, there's some great fucked up scenes.
Well, the thing is that it sounds like there are obviously just two main characters in this film. Mm-hmm. And as far as these traps, I mean, is there any scenes where people who just accidentally stumble in, like the cops or something, where, are there scenes like that where you actually watch these traps work and do their thing?
Well, the traps are messing with the family while they're there, because the family can't get out of the house, and the traps mess with them. And there is one or two visitors that show up that are unexpected, that
that's where the gore comes in.
There is some cliches in there, like the cop shows up, and the cop, you tell that cop the whole time, shoot, man,
hello, you got to get out of here, come on, get out of here. What's going on?
Yeah, anytime you walk up on a guy who's just looking at you with a mask on and is not running, you run or shoot, because he knows something that you don't. But
you said cliched. I mean, there's the cliche of the cop showing up. I mean, that's not so much a cliche. How they deal with the cop showing up scene is actually really cool.
See, I like the movie. Don't get me wrong. What I like about the movie is the lead actor here, Josh Stewart, gives a very quiet and subtle performance that's in perfect contrast to all the evil and chaos going on around him. And I like that actor a lot. But I like your lead actor. Mm-hmm. And I like the mood of the film. I mean, this shit it really is creepy, man. I mean, you walk into this house, all the lights off, and you don't know, and it's dark. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that's scared of hitting my toe in the dark. And so, just know I'm gonna walk in the kitchen and get a fucking bear trap on my leg.
So you're telling me every night's a horror movie for you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm creeping through the house already, just trying to get some water. I'm like,
I hear you up here. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, that guy with the traps is hanging out again.
He never knows when an angry father or boyfriend has snuck into the house and set up elaborate traps.
Knowing Corey and him and his goddamn rat traps, he keeps laying around in his room, keeps walking right into them.
Run to my own rat traps.
You're the one who set up the trap, dumbass.
I am the villain. But no, man. I mean, but the movie really is like a haunted house. I mean, but with real consequences. I mean, only the guy who set him up knows the exit, and everybody else ain't getting out alive. And this guy, you said it right. This guy's like, you get the feeling that he's actually saying to himself, okay, this is my last job. I just want to be a good dad. It's kind of like the cop who's going to retire,
getting too old for this shit.
Yeah, the sergeant who's like, this is my last day. And then he gets shot in the movie. It's like, it's this guy's day. He walks in like, I just want to get the hell out. And he comes in almost getting stabbed. And she's like, what the fuck? I didn't sign up for this. But that's my other complaint about the movie. Our hero is there at 5:00 in the afternoon, going through the whole house. So we see that the house is okay. He comes back around 9:00. The house is fucking rigged with all of these elaborate traps.
No, now First of all, there's two things to this. One, he comes back at 11 o'clock, not 9 o'clock.
Come on, man. 2 hours ain't gonna make a difference.
No,
bro.
it does because Marcus went and tested it out and was able to set up every trap in the house in under 3 hours.
Well, look, a guy leaves at 9 o'clock. The villain
He leaves
sets
at
up to.
no, he leaves at 5.
Okay, he leaves at 5 o'clock. The villain sets up the traps around 6. Now, granted, if the villain has to go for a bite to eat and return, realizing that the guy in the house needs to go through these traps, exactly how much time does he have in between to get to the train station?
And because I
Carry the two.
No, the thing is, it takes 3 hours to set these traps up because it's not as many. I mean, there's a lot of traps, but it's not like overwhelming. But
Man,
it takes 3 hours to set up the traps. He gets there at 11. He had to start by 8.
Man, we're talking about some mechanics in full effect. We're talking about spring rig traps. We're talking about wires strung up. I mean,
And yet Marcus was able to set it up.
I don't buy it. This motherfucker should be on Home Improvement. Granted, his devices would kill people, but he should be. He's efficient.
Maybe he had a partner that we'll learn about in the sequel.
And the sequel, and then we'll have him back.
But that was one of the things he wanted to do. He wanted to make sure that not only did every trap work in the real world, but that it could be set up in the amount of time that the killer had before our hero showed up.
And we got to consider the family had to come home on top of that. He had to get this shit done when they were gone.
The family never left.
I can see the killer like actually trying to get the family out. Like he's on the phone. Your toilet is running. You better catch it. And then they leave the house and he's setting up trap.
Yeah, I can hear like the hammer in the background. Honey, what's that noise? I don't know.
So he like tied up the family and then set up all the traps, so they couldn't get out. Okay, I mean I still can't buy that he had the time to set that up, but the other thing is that you said that this isn't torture. I mean, this is full on torture. Man.
No. There's nobody actually. All the death scenes in this are quick and easy.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, I have to disagree with you completely, man. There's a guy who tries to get out. That motherfucker gets slung around the house. He gets his toes nailed to the ground.
Oh, but
and then
people get beat up, but
people get their lips sewn together. People get stabbed. I mean, this
that happens out on the streets every night. You guys are, come here, let me see the lips.
In this neighborhood, lips.
I told you to stay with me.
But it's not like torture porn. You're not the way it happens is not set up in the same and executed in the same way torture porn is, to where you slowly watch somebody be tortured for a couple of minutes to make the audience squirm.
No, man. These people are tortured mentally and very physically before they're killed. And if people aren't into that, this movie's going to turn them off, because it is hard to watch.
I think you're stretching torture in just because, I'm trying to find the way to phrase this properly, but just because people suffer beforehand doesn't make it the same as the type of suffering that you see in torture porn.
Suffering
it's
beforehand
very
is
different. It's very different than torture porn, though. The whole concept behind it's not like Hostel. It's not like Rob Zombie's films. It's not like the Saw movies, in that you watch someone for 2-3 minutes suffer before they finally expire, in that they're strapped down to a chair and getting a saw taken to them, or any number of these really extreme things. Like, bad things happen to them that are painful and really fucking suck, but it's not done with the same flavor as you see in torture porn. It never lingers on it. It happens, the audience goes, ooh, and then it moves on to whatever's next.
It's like they pull away before they really show you anything? Or?
Well, it's not that they pull away that before. Like he mentioned somebody getting their lips sewn shut, but so you see that for maybe 2 seconds.
But we see this person being abused beforehand. I mean, we see people begging for their lives, being dragged back into a situation they don't want to be in. We see like the tongues being pulled, before they're kind of cut. I mean, it's like, man, this is torture, dude. I mean, I don't know what your definition of torture is, but I'm looking at this. I'm just kind of like,
but you're parsing,
suffering, man. These people
you're
are suffering.
parsing words. No, they are suffering, but it's not torture porn. There's a difference.
Okay, the difference is word porn?
Watching the difference between watching this and watching Hostel, they're two completely different films.
This argument is starting to become torture.
Yes.
No, I'm just telling you.
I need some porn right now. Can you throw some on?
Yeah, just stick with the torture. Give me some porn right here.
It's a very different feel. It doesn't linger in the same way that it has.
Well, we disagree on that. I mean, look, I'm not going to argue because you and I disagree very greatly on that. And I'm telling people, like, you could tell them differently, but I'm saying for people who feel like me, is like if seeing people being tortured, people you think don't deserve it before they die. If that's not your thing, then I don't think this movie's going to work for you. I've heard that criticism for some people before I even went into the film, and I have to agree with that. Now, for people who are used to the Saw movies and are complaining about what they become now, this is the movie that you've been looking for because this
that's I was going to ask. I mean, now compared to like Saw or even Hostel, I mean, what kind of range as far as just the movie itself? I mean, do I have a good enough story to where I'm going to care about this besides the fact that I'm going to go just to see some people just get
No, this director is so much better than that, man. Like I said, the main thing that separates this director is that he knows how to create suspense and he knows how to create mood. Cool. And the shots are set up to the point where the tension is created that way. We see people maneuver around each other. The killer's coming around the corner while another guy's going into a closet, and you're thinking to yourself, hurry up and get in that closet, man, before he discovers you.
Cool.
And so this director knows what he's doing, man. I mean, I commend him for that. I mean, it like I said, there's a lot of things that people forget to do in horror movies. And the main thing is set up your mood.
Right.
And once you have that mood set up and you stick with it, then you made the biggest first step in your film, and it carries on for that. And I give this movie a matinee for that.
I give this movie a full price. I really, really enjoyed the hell out of it. I've seen it twice already. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I really enjoy the setup. I think it's very inventive. You haven't seen a film quite like it, not in a long time. And it really does break the mold of what we've been seeing in horror. I like the fact that it gets away from, here's a group of people, let's watch them get picked off one by one. It's a story about a guy who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I really like where they go with it. They go to some new places. And I think if you're a horror fan, it's an absolute must see.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this movie though, and you can't help but wonder, like, this collector guy, what happened to him at some point? Like, did he flunk wood shop a whole lot of times? I mean,
I gotta say, Marcus knows where he's going with it. I talked to Marcus about that. We sat down and I'm like, okay, so do you have a place to go with this? He's like, oh yeah, no, I've got the whole thing mapped out. I'm not going to tell you.
So you're telling us this is lending itself off to a sequel.
In fact, what I will share is that the whole reason it's called The Collector is because it was originally titled Midnight Man. And it came down to the fact that the distribution company that ended up picking it up from the Weinsteins said, all right, look, what do you think sounds better, Midnight Man 2 or The Collector 2? And he's like, well, the Collector 2. He's like, all right, we're calling it The Collector.
Yeah, Midnight Man sounds like a superhero.
Midnight Man.
Except it makes total sense when you watch the film, because he's got till midnight to get out of this house and get the rock back to the fence.
Yeah,
and he's got this ticking clock, and the whole time he keeps looking at his watch, and he's like, I got to get the fuck out of here, because not only does he have to get out to save his own life, he has to get out to save the life of his wife to sell this stolen jewelry.
No. So we're not gonna see like The Collector 7 or The Collector 8, are we? I mean, they're gonna end this shit at some point.
Well,
suffer if they
that I don't know. I mean, but that's one of those things that's out of the hands of the creator. Usually, it's owned by the companies that made it. I can tell you that I know that that Marcus doesn't want to make 7 or 8 of these.
Yeah.
It's not going to turn into,
I mean,
into Die Hard.
He won't complain.
Not again. How do I keep getting into these goddamn trapped houses?
No, but I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't object at the check that would come in every time, because that's the thing is, the people who worked on the original Saw film, every time they make a Saw film, a little money comes in.
Cha-ching.
But I know that's not what he wants.
I know. I don't want to see a collector number 10 or something. I mean, what's going to happen? He's going to build a birdhouse, and the bird's going to have to get out the fucking house with traps and shit. End this shit. You know what I mean? It's good as it's going along.
In talking to Marcus, he seemed very firm that he had a really cool story in mind and that he wanted to do some cool things. So that lends me to believe that this thing has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Okay.
Cool.
And before we go, I'll tell you the other thing. I forgot to mention this. What makes this so creepy is that the killer himself is actually so demented that you hate this guy and you are scared of his mind. Like what? Because he's the kind of dude who's so scary. Like you're not just scared of him. You scared like what the fuck did he do to this house? I mean, shit. Open the refrigerator or flushing the toilet can get you killed.
They present him as very human and very flawed.
Okay.
Something you normally don't see. Normally they're presented as these superhuman killers, and he's clearly just a fucked up dude, but he's a creepy fucked up dude. There's this moment where he's crouched in the corner, like getting really hot and bothered, and the shot is just, you're watching him and it's just like, ooh.
Hot and bothered,
he's a pervert too. He sets up traps, but he's before you get caught on him, he's looking at people making out and shit. It's like a couple comes in, they're like getting ready to have sex, and he's all that.
He was like Cyrus with a mask. Creepy as shit.
Touching himself with his mouse trap. Woo.
This fucker's about to fall into his own trap. Get his dick caught on one of them traps. Oh shit! Owie! Like you said. But he's demented, man. Like really, you don't know what the fuck he's done to this house. I mean, you scared to touch the wall. You don't know what's gonna pop out of that shit.
Because I wanted to ask if he was like an actual slasher, like a Freddy Krueger.
Well, he's
Jason
a slasher.
type,
He's just not. He's just using the house to kill you.
Well, he's not a slasher as much as he's a serial killer.
Yeah,
Serial
exactly.
killer. Okay.
So it's a cool film and a cool idea, man. I hope the best for it. So.